before. So, there are several ways to set up the problem which you've set up. You can set it up in terms of targeting. You can set it up in terms of war fighting. So the lid is off and now you're trying to decide what to do. But you only touch passingly on the question of deterrence and the whole question of what these capabilities mean. If both sides are looking at the fact that the other side has, some piece of this capability and so on. And I mean, I'm not saying that the way you set it up is wrong, because obviously in a warfighting scenario, you're going to be thinking about this. And I think if you pull back and ask what this looks like, if you're trying to make decisions when your adversary has the same capability you do,
yes,
does that make deterrence, does that contribute to stability? I guess that's what I want to ask.
Well, let me,
destabilizing.
I am so glad you got the point of the lecture. And that is the point. The point of the lecture is to lift the hood on all those questions. First, just a comment. I have a group that I meet with. It includes officials and Hill staff. And we're trying to think about the next war. And it was really annoying getting this group together because they were all very, very smart. And I even say in the beginning, uniformly hard-headed, hawkish people. But I couldn't get them off the dime of getting the war started. They kept pleading with, well, here's how you deter the war. And I said, you can't deter a war until you have the war in your mind and you know what it might look like. Then you can try to figure out how to deter that war. In other words, you have to play out what things could go wrong in a shooting war. You want the missiles flying first in your mind to try to figure out what happens maybe. Now, you're going to get it wrong, but you're really going to get it wrong if you don't think about that at all. And you just...
That's totally fair, but let me just give you
an example. Now, wait a minute. You've asked several questions.
Okay.
I did not get done because you had several. My first point is to your point. The reason you do want to think about war, W-A-R, is you can't figure out deterring it until you know what it is. So you do need to have simulations where you imagine what happens when, oh, there's a pause and you have people clamoring to close down the war. Do they go to negotiate? Do people push, to go to punish to get that concession, etc.? You need to play that out, number one. Number two, I think exactly the point you raised is what you're going to discover. And that point is, if you are shooting at political nodes of control, the character of your adversary and yourself will not be symmetrical. It won't be symmetrical for a variety of reasons. Someone may have more missiles. The missiles may be better. That's prosaic, but it's always...
No, but that certainly came to my mind.
Okay, well, that's one thing. But then really interesting things happen. Maybe your adversary is the Soviet Union, and, they just don't have a whole lot of popular leadership, People don't like them who are underneath them. Or it could be that they have to have a military and certain lines of communication to certain command centers and to the party apparatchik to maintain control. Whereas the United States, maybe not so much. So there may be an asymmetry there. Also, urbanization may be an issue. So there are lots of factors to try to figure out. I mean, in other words, this is a problem. You don't solve it. You do better or worse at understanding it. It's like war. It's like deterrence. These are not scientific things. These are problems that you do better or worse at imagining and trying to shape your policy around. Now, my own view, I'm not going to be coy about this, is I think if you can get people to think about backing off whacking cities, and I think you can, because I don't think even our worst adversaries are eager to use nuclear weapons. I think you can probably deter even the initial shooting if they know that if they get into a shooting war, they might lose control of the one thing they care about, which is rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you need to know the culture, you need to know the vulnerabilities. You know, it gets to be a five-dimensional, you know, game. It's no longer checkers.